Good evening. Welcome to ongoing election coverage by Town Meeting Television. My name is Bridget Higdon. I'm the managing editor of the Essex Reporter, and I'm happy to be here moderating tonight. This is just one of many local election forums that Town Meeting TV is bringing you ahead of March 1st. Town Meeting is traditionally where voters weigh in on local government representation, municipal budgets, school budgets, and local ballot items. All candidates on the ballot were invited to participate in tonight's forum. And so here with me tonight, we have Brian Sheldon, as well as Ethan Lawrence, who are both running for the one-year seat on the Essex Select Board. We have two candidates and one seat. Brian Sheldon is running a write-in campaign, and Ethan Lawrence, his name is on the ballot. So we'll be clear about that as well tonight. I've got several questions for you this evening. But let's start off with some opening statements from you both. Ethan, let's start with you, please.
Hi, my name is Ethan Lawrence. I've been a member of this community for going on 4 years. Me and my wife purchased our first house ever here in the fall of 2018. We had one son at the time. We moved here for the schools and also the rural landscape, the house that we had found. We started a farm and things progressed from there. It turned into a retail meat business, and we grew our family by one, and I became involved in local politics, followed the select board, town meetings, other agenda items that were important to the community. And ultimately my involvement over time gave me the opportunity to step up and run for select board.
Great, thank you very much. And Brian, let's hear from you.
Hi, I'm Brian Sheldon. I'm a small business owner here in Essex, and Essex is my hometown. This year, our town faces enormous challenges, including separation, protecting public health, overcoming barriers to diversity and inclusion, growing our local economy, and others that we will speak about tonight. The Select Board must play an active and critical role in addressing each of them. Many people I respect had concerns the Select Board would not be able to address these challenges if it becomes a battleground for partisan politics and culture war. So they asked me to run as a write-in candidate. They felt that my deep involvement in issues critical to the future of Essex, including my work as the chair of the Essex Economic Development Commission and as the treasurer of the Essex Rotary Club. These gave me the kind of experience, temperament, and track record of practical solutions that the Select Board needs.
Okay, great. Thank you both very much. We'll remind folks who are watching this live that we are welcoming questions. They can call in at 802-862-3966. And until that time, I'll lead off the questioning here. Let's talk about one of the ballot items that voters will see on town meeting day. An advisory referendum allowing retail cannabis is on the ballot in Essex. Do you support it, and why or why not? We'll start with you.
Me? Okay, yes. Sorry. Yeah, I support it. I think it's huge for Vermont. Eliminating, legalization of the retail market is going to eliminate the black market, give a sense of regulation, take away the scary realities of tampered with product that's been found in Vermont and other things. Knowing your grower, following the health benefits of it all, and also on a retail sense, I think having the taxing and regulation of the product is going to be a lot better for the community than having it here as it already is, as a non-governed item. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Brian, let's hear from you.
All right, thank you, Bridget. As a citizen, I plan on voting yes for retail cannabis in Essex. I'm on record supporting retail cannabis. One of the largest and fastest growing industries in Vermont and Essex is value-added agriculture. As part as part of Vermont's Farm to Table initiative, growing local makes sense to me. Whether that's organic milk, an apple orchard off of Chapin Road, and even Ethan's farm. Vermont agriculture is literally iconic. A carefully controlled cannabis industry fits into this larger framework. I'm pleased that the select board put it on the March ballot so that our community has the opportunity to opt in. Essex is poised to capitalize on this business right away. There's a CBD shop in the Essex experience. That said, if Essex voters do decide to allow the retail sales of cannabis here, I plan to collaborate with the rest of the board to find the right regulations for Essex, so we can grow Essex business and protect our kids at the same time. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Let's move on to the topic of separation here. As a result of the village's bid for independence, some early estimates show that Essex residents could face significantly higher taxes and maybe cuts to important services. How would you address this challenge? And if cuts to services are required, where would you start? Brian, let's start with you this time. How would you sort of handle this possible deficit in revenue? And if cuts are required, where would you start?
Very good. First things first, separation is happening. To act like it's not, or at least that it might, is not the best way forward for Essex. Like Tracy Delphia often says, failure to plan is planning to fail. It's no secret that I worked very hard to merge the community of Essex Junction and the town of Essex into one municipality. We ran a positive, community-oriented, and fact-based campaign. And I'm sad that we couldn't make it happen, but as I said, separation is happening. Because the voters have spoken. On that same April ballot for merger, the advisory vote was the advisory vote for separation. If you lived in the TOV like I do, you knew that separation was the consequence of voting no on merger. The vote in the village to separate was overwhelming. Now, remember this seat is for 1 year, and in that year it will certainly represent both sides of the city line. Both the village and the town after separation will be my constituents. It's true there will be some short-term pain for both communities. I will work hard to balance the needs of both communities that I represent. And to your specific question, we need to have community feedback on what policies and services can be cut and what tax raises can be had, because we knew that was happening. But more about my values here. Is anybody here a country fan? Forgive me for the dated reference, but every time separation comes up on the campaign trail, I think of a country song. And I promise I won't sing. It goes, we gain a lot of ground if we both give a little. There ain't no road too long when we meet in the middle. And that's how we'll handle separation for Essex. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Ethan, same question to you.
Yeah, I think, separation is very important. It's going to be very challenging. Respecting the will of the voters to ensure that separation passes, hopefully through the Vermont legislature in the timely manner that we're all expecting for July 1st effectiveness. I also think it's very important to create a fair and equal deal for both the city of Essex Junction when created and the new town of Essex when that time comes. Although we are in a contract or a presumptive agreement at the time, when the time comes to create a contract, I think it's going to be very important to make sure that negotiation and both party involvement and agreement on the deals are attainable and easily provisional when or if there's a discretion of either side in those policies. As far as the question for what services to look at for fund cutting, I don't think that we necessarily need to cut any specific part of the municipality. I think there's some things that we can look at. I know we're carrying over 4 police contracts, police officer contracts this year again. There's some municipal authority positions that haven't been filled to the full capacity. And, I think in there with the looking at the bigger picture, there's going to be some movement of, maybe we don't fund those 4 police officer positions, but maybe we should pick up Essex Rescue and make it a part of the municipality. And there's a lot of groundwork that's still to be made. I think it's just very important that we make the right decisions. We listen to the voters, and moving forward, we make sure that we maintain a good relationship with the city of Essex and the town of Essex when both are created as their own entity. Thank you.
We've got a listener question here, so let's take that now, please.
All right, caller, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, I'm just wondering, Ethan, specifically, you have a history on Facebook that we've seen. Some of it's been scrubbed, and specifically there is a quote about too many liberals and such like that. But how are you going to represent everyone, and what is your temperament? Because that matters in someone in a position of responsibility in the community. So please address that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. I would gladly address that. My involvement in the community on community pages, all public spaces, has been more than respectful, listening, understanding of others. However, I will address the fact that I have fallen into the ways of Facebook in private pages. Specifically the group that you're referring to on the post made by John Walters. I'm not hiding from anything. I knew weeks in advance before I submitted my paperwork to file to be on the ballot for the select board. The post that I had made, I did not delete anything. I did not scrub anything. I more than could have before anybody had time to dig in. I take full accountability, and moving forward, I can only learn from my mistakes and take accountability for the things that I said in the private setting.
But these are recent things, and temperament matters, especially in a position where your responsibility to the community.
Yep, I agree with that. Again, these weren't comments
Cool.
made in the community. These weren't made on the select board meetings. These were comments made in private, and I take full accountability for the things that I said.
Well, one thing is, on social media, nothing is private.
Agreed.
That's something to know.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, that was all. I appreciate your response.
Thank you very much.
Can I address that a little bit, Bridget, as well?
That's what I was just going to say. Would you like to speak to temperament?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to temperament and to my internet presence. I do have the advantage that I have been a public figure in this town for quite some time. However, I have, like anyone who has been on the internet for, like the internet the internet didn't exist when I was Ethan's age, but even I know that that there's no such thing as a private space on the internet. I did not change for this race. Anything in my Twitter feed, my Facebook feed, and in fact, if you look hard enough, you'll find a video I made for the House campaign that says anything I say will have my name on it. So that is how I will lead. If you all trust me with your write-in vote, your ballot should arrive today. Thank you.
I have a rebuttal to that.
Sure, go ahead.
If you take accountability for everything that you've said, would you speak on thanking the person for calling me a racist and a misogynist, and please explain why you believe that? It was on your Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but I think my concern, Mr. Lawrence, was that you were claiming that you weren't saying some things in public that everyone knew that you were, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I think truth matters. I'm running on the campaign of facts and science matter. So to say one thing and right after filing for office to try to say another is just, I don't think that is a way to lead this town.
Great. Thank you both very much. Let's go to another listener question, please.
All right, caller, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thanks. This is a slightly different but related question to both candidates. To Ethan, well, both of you, you're running for one-year seats. My interest is, will you be running for re-election? So to Ethan, you have a small farm, full-time job, young family. I'm wondering if you're going to take the experience you gained in your one-year term and then leverage that into a re-election bid where you'll be able to use that on the next three-year term. And to Brian, prior to your announcing, you looked like from your website, you are going to be targeting a November run for the House. And my concern is that will you be doing that, or will you run for re-election for the Select Board? The experience you gain in that 1 year, will you be able to leverage that into your next three-year term? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ethan, he spoke of you first, so go ahead and take it.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest questions I've been asked as to running was, what is my experience? And I'm 26 years old. I'm a father. I'm a full-time welder and mechanic. I run a successful agriculture business here in Essex. And I fully look forward to serving the board in a year, showing people who I truly am, showing them the accountability that I carry as a person. And I fully plan on running for re-election or running for the next election. No matter what happens during this election, I am dedicated to Essex. I care about what's going on in Essex. I'm informed on what's going on. I attend all the meetings. And I feel that I'm more than willing and more than ready to commit myself to this position and to future positions when the time comes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Signorello, for that question. This race is only 10 days old, and I firmly believe in one election at a time. So I have not decided what I will run for next or whether I will run for re-election. This is a historic and very important year in Essex. And when many people reached out to me, many people that I respect asked me to run for this seat, that is why I accepted the call. In terms of my website, it's no secret, I believe, that I was one of the nominees to replace Mary Beth Redmond in the House. When that happened, I wanted to look like a professional to the governor when he was making those choices. So that is why the website was designed in that way. And of course, so yeah, of course, there were things that needed to be done in a 10-day campaign, more than update the website when the ballots were coming out. That's why most people in Essex have gotten a postcard that is to let them know that I'm running, as opposed to changing my website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I believe there's still one more listener question, correct? Yes, no. Is there one more at this time?
Yes, one moment.
Hello?
Okay, awesome. Go ahead and ask your question.
We are ready for you.
Oh, I can ask my question. I'm sorry. Hello, good evening. Thank you both for standing up and vying for this position on the Select Board. My question is about environment. We have a lot of building going on in Essex, and one of my friends, her basement ended up getting flooded. And the flooding was due to the fact that the trees that this person pulled out of their yard, multiples of trees, were the very force holding that water where it belonged and not in her home. And I'm wondering how you feel about having an environmental impact study done whenever any kind of big permit for housing or buildings go up, so that we can see what will happen in that area. And that way we don't get into trouble like this. Thank you.
Brian, let's have you take this one first. Just asking about environmental impact studies.
Sure. I'm a strong believer that climate change exists and that we need to do something about it. The number one cause of carbon emissions in Vermont is transportation, but that's not your question. You're the second most cause of carbon emissions is home heating. So I think that there is an important thing that we can do as part of the Essex Energy Committee to try to work towards improving some of our housing stock, especially in terms of your friend's flooded basement. In terms of the environmental studies, I have to say one of my, I think my strong suits is I know where my expertise and knowledge ends. So I don't know exactly, I don't exactly know when that would happen. So I do know that the Energy Committee and the Planning Commission should, and they probably already are, I know as on the EDC we are, should get together and answer your question. I'm not sure they're not already doing that, but I'll be happy to find out.
Thank you very much. And Ethan, your response?
Yeah, I strongly support and I've actually followed this situation itself. Environmental impact is a huge deal, and as a farmer, I know I'm very involved in this. I work with the Department of Agriculture water quality. I also work with the Natural Resources Conservation Committee on my property. I deal with water runoff, manure spreading, all that. So looking at this as the impacts of development and building, I've actually seen some stuff going on in my backyard, same thing, land clearing. You know, as far as water mitigation to more snow accumulation instead of in the canopy, and it changes the whole entire landscape. And the behavior of the environment when you change it. I think it's very important moving forward with the ETC, listening in the other day that we have a plan that gives us guidelines, but it's a recommendation. It's not a practice yet. We don't have a practice. We don't have an environmental studies committee. We don't have a committee that's going back to these developers and the people building these houses and checking, did they do this or did they do that as they were supposed to? So I think all that is very important moving forward, especially developing the town center and the preserving the wetlands that are within the town center. So thank you.
Thank you. And let's take another listener question, please.
All right, caller, you can go ahead and ask your question. Sir, you can ask your question.
Is he asking the question just the sound's not coming through? I can hear very quiet.
No, it seems like he is not asking his question.
I don't know why I'm trying to tell you to do the job. You're the producer. Thank you.
Well, it seems like we'll just have to skip this one and we can come back to it if they decide to rejoin.
Okay. Sounds good. So then I'll go ahead here. I asked some Essex Reporter readers what they would like to hear tonight. They asked that we talk about housing. So what role does Essex have to play in the housing need in Chittenden County? and how might Essex mitigate the rising cost of housing that we're seeing across the state? Ethan, will you start, please?
Yeah, I'll start. I think this is a very important topic, especially in Chittenden County. And I look to answer this the way that I'm trying to, but I think it reaches back to the development committee. You know, when we go into approving plans for development, you know, we look at building single story, you know, 3-bedroom family homes that appraise, you know, in it used to be 180 to 300,000 range, but those days are long gone. We all know. But you know, I know that they have Essex is working with Habitat for Humanity to create those opportunities. Habitat for Humanity has been awesome in Chittenden County in general. But I think looking at the development as it continues to grow, you know, maybe we don't build, you know, duplexes and quadplexes and these huge buildings that are, you know, 1 bedroom for $1,400 a month. And we really need to focus on small development for attainable single family homes for the average person. I mean, when I bought my home in 2018, it was 230,000, and you know, recent appraisals. And if I wanted to sell it and live in an apartment, I could get $400,000. I would never be able to afford the house that I bought in 2018. So I think the biggest crisis right now is the developmental monopoly that they have on the houses that they're creating. So thank you.
Thank you. Brian, what do you have to say about housing and Essex role in it?
Sure. Essex has everything. And that couldn't be more true than in the case of housing. We have farms on the Jericho border. We have high-rise apartment buildings. We have suburban style single-family homes. And we have large houses on large lots. We have walkable neighborhoods. We have drivable neighborhoods. And we have homes on dirt roads. We also happen to have some of the most affordable housing in Chittenden County, in Indian Acres and the Brickyard. So, but what that doesn't mean is that Vermont housing matches Vermont wages. The best way a municipality can address this, in my opinion, is to build more housing. And that's why when I was honored to have an interview with the governor's staff, I talked about Act 250 reform. We need to keep rural parts of Essex rural, and 5 corners in the Essex Town Center should continue to be statewide models for how to build walkable neighborhoods. Now, I only have 2 minutes here, so I want to say that these are my values, and they're not specific plans. I have ideas, but I'm no expert. The good news is that we have experts on our housing commission, and we have access to Essex residents who do affordable housing for a living. So, but before I wrap this up, I wanted to say one more thing. Affordable housing is an equity issue too. If the only housing you can afford isn't insulated, you can't afford it. If the only housing you need is 3 bus transfers away from your job, you can't afford it. And if we drive people out of Vermont or we drive them to Franklin County, who do you think that affects the hardest? We need more housing. We need more affordable housing and more equitable housing. And that's not in conflict with keeping rural parts of Essex rural. Let's work with the Planning Commission, the Housing Commission, and yes, even the governor, to help build more fair and affordable housing in Essex.
Great, thank you very much. I'd like to squeeze in this listener who has come back. So let's fit him in here if we can.
All right, caller, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Let's work with the Planning Commission, Housing Commission, and yes, even the governor, to help build more fair and affordable housing in Essex.
Oh, I think
we're on a tape delay. That's
we're
me.
hearing Brian talk.
I have to say that guy sounds great. Y'all should vote for him.
That's what you were hearing earlier, Brian.
It seems like they left the phone call yet again.
All right. All right, well then let's get some quick closing statements from each of you.
I think we should both ask each other our question. We haven't had that opportunity.
Okay. We can do that. We have
it's
2
up to you
minutes.
who wants to lead off, Brian, you or me?
Yeah, go ahead.
My only question that I have for you I'm new to this. I just registered within the 10 days of receiving $500 for a campaign. But I've followed you through, you know, a few things through the pro merger and the anti 3+3 and a few other things. And my question to you now is, how come, you know, with all your experience, after a mass media mailing, that you didn't meet the 24-hour deadline to file?
Thank you for the question, Ethan. We stood this campaign up very quickly, and it's what, 10 days old at this point? And the most important thing was to have Essex already got a postcard letting them know that I'm running. It's true, we should have filed our mass media reports one day after the postcards went out. It's already been corrected. I apologize for the error.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Brian, do you have a question for Ethan that you'd like to ask?
Sure. When we were talking about housing, Mr. Lawrence, you spoke about building more affordable housing in Essex, but you also spoke against duplexes, and which is, I mean, literally, if you building duplexes is like 25% cheaper than building single-family homes. I wonder how you would rectify that at least my confusion.
Yeah, I should have been more clear about that, and I was actually thinking about that after I had spoke on it. When I was speaking to Developer Monopoly, I was actually thinking in my head, you know, most duplexes and quadplexes currently are owned by a landlord, and they are being rented properties and not owned properties. As far as the larger, you know, buildings that are in the town center and you know, towards the village, the Five Corners, a lot of those are condos and can be purchased. There's also a lot of condos off from Sand Hill. There's two large spaces back there. So condominiums are great, and they're affordable, and they can you know, fit a single family or you know, a larger family. I think that we just need to really think about, when we grant these permissions for these buildings, that we're not setting up another 25 apartment buildings to be built out at $1,400 a month, when these residents are not attaining any value or equity to maintain a home in our community. So thank you for the question.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here tonight, Ethan and Brian. And thank you everyone to tuning into Town Meeting TV for ongoing coverage of community candidates. You could find this and more forums at channel17.tv. It's also going to be on the Town Meeting YouTube page, I believe. Again, my name is Bridget Higdon. I am the managing editor at the Essex Reporter. I appreciate you all joining us. Again, we have Ethan and Brian here running for the one-year seat on the Essex Selectboard. Brian is running a write-in campaign, and Ethan is on the ballot. Don't forget to vote on March 1st, on or before. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. if you are not voting by mail. Thank you both very much, and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, CCTV.
Thank you.